Okay, so big boys do cry. Let's talk about my father. As I shared earlier, I've only seen my dad cry two, maybe three times in my life, and one of those I shared with you as it relates to the death of my grandfather and when my father was there. I think as it relates to my dad taught me so much about life. He taught me how to be strong. He taught me how to be resilient. He taught me how to be independent. Taught me how to do a lot of the different things in life, which, he didn't have another woman in his life for a period of time. We didn't have another woman, either as a wife or a mother in life for a period of time after my mom and sister died. And so there was a lot of different things that, just pragmatic aspects of running a household that my dad had to do and therefore taught me how to do, either directly or indirectly by doing it, washing the clothes, ironing, all of these different things that, my father took on, which not something that maybe would be as typical in the household at that time, back in the late 80s, early 90s. And there was many times where my dad would pick me up from, he would drop me off very early at school so that he could go to work. So I was in the, early school program before school started, right, where I would get dropped off early, and then I was in the after school program because my dad would often work until later at night. And so he would drop me off and he would work a 12-hour day, 10-hour day, whatever it was. And gosh, I just remember my dad picking me up and we'd go get takeout from a local Italian restaurant, or he'd take me to go get McDonald's or whatever the case may be. And I just remember a lot of quiet car rides. And I can only imagine the pain that my father must have been in. 22, 23 years old. Your wife is tragically murdered when she's pregnant with what was your 8-month daughter. He must have been so, excited. He had a son, he had me. He must have been so excited to have a daughter. And so I can only imagine the amount of pain that he was in, and just confusion, and who knows the different emotions that he was experiencing. But I remember a lot of silence. I remember a lot of dimly lit dinners at the family table. I'm sure my dad was utterly exhausted on top of everything else from working so hard, because here he is now as a single dad, right, raising a son. And I had very little conversations with my dad about emotions. That's not to say that he didn't hold the door open for me, so to speak, as it relates to ever me asking questions about my mom or my mom's death or anything like that. But we really didn't have a whole lot of deep conversations as it relates to emotions or to the passing of my mother and sister. And I recognize how challenging that must have been for him, not only in what to say or how to say it. How do you have a conversation about something so tragic with a young kid? And at the same time, his own pain, his own trauma, his own struggles as it relates to the passing of his wife and daughter, my mother and unborn sister. For 30 years almost, I kept all that pain inside. I don't know if my father has ever explored that pain or released that pain, but I can say that there was a lot of pain and a lot of unexpressed thoughts, feelings, and emotions that was there for the both of us after the passing of my mom. And I don't hold that against my dad. I love my dad so much, and I can only imagine how difficult that must have been. But at the same time, I have to be vulnerable with you guys and let you know that I didn't deal with it. You know, when they took me to counseling, and I was very young, and I returned to counseling later in my teenage years, I still wasn't ready to have that be the focus. I think I was talking about girls and relationships and typical mom and dad struggles. And I remember my counselor actually told me, yeah, I'm going to tell your parents, like, you're a pretty normal teenager. There's not anything, wrong with you. This is normal teenage stuff. But there was pain. There was pain in here. And that wasn't visible maybe from the outside. I was still doing very well in sports, very well in academics. But I say all that to say that I think for both my father and myself, there was a lot of unexpressed thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and definitely a lot of unprocessed grief. And while there are many aspects of that from my father, which I admire, his resiliency, his fortitude, his independence, the way that, he never turned to drugs or alcohol during that point in time in his life. He made so many sacrifices for me, and that's not lost on me by any means. And at the same time, if I could go back and say something to him and me, sitting at that dimly lit dining room table, I would say, guys, it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. Your wife's gone. Your mom's not coming home. You're not going to have that daughter. Ryan, you're not going to have a little sister. I wish we had somebody there that could have facilitated that conversation, could have facilitated that space for us to say, guys, it's okay. It's okay to cry. And it's yet again another reason why I felt so strongly in my heart to write this book, is because I want to let you know, guys, whatever that pain is that you've been holding inside. And by the way, I don't care for how long you've been holding it inside. I held it inside for 30 years before I started the healing process. So it doesn't matter if it's been 3 days, 30 days, or 30 years. It doesn't matter how long it's been. It takes one moment, one decision. Maybe this book is it for you, where you say, I'm going to allow myself to cry. I'm going to allow myself to admit that I've experienced pain, and maybe I'm still in that pain, either consciously or subconsciously. Maybe I'm aware of it, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm using drugs and alcohol like I did for a long period of time in my life to numb that pain. Allow yourself to get into your heart. Allow yourself to feel that pain. It's an integral part to the healing process. We've got to feel it to heal it. I promise you, life will get so much more beautiful. Not that the event changes. The event can't change. The event has happened, right? My mother has passed away. My sister has passed away. They're not coming back. But now it's up to me for the meaning that I want to give to that tragedy. Part of the reason why I wanted to become a counselor, right? I know what it's like to feel the pain, and I sit with people every single day in their pain so that they can know that they don't have to be afraid of it, that it's okay to cry. And so I hope this book and our time together helps you to realize that it's okay to cry and that you don't have to hold that pain inside.